Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. And welcome everybody to my Independence Report. It's a Friday, which means that Lamori Media is producing or is sponsoring the show today. And Tracy Lamori, she's out of Canada and she also works out of LA. And if you need some advice or you want to get your name out there, she's a perfect one to do that. And speaking of which, we've got a fine gentleman here. And so if you're a homeowner, or somebody who's anticipating wanting to be a homeowner, or you want to redesign your home and make it safer for other people that like little ones and such, this is the company that you want to talk to. The company's name is Home DNB Inc. And you can go look at their website, which is HomeDnB.com. And Eric Ridenour is with us. I did say your last name correctly, I hope.
You did. I get that right about once or twice a year, so good for you.
That's awesome. You know, I was reading your resume, and you have been in the home development, landscaping business, doing tiles and working with homeowners for a long time, haven't you?
Yes.
And your current position, what's if I were to look at your business card, what's your title say?
Oh, I don't remember. Business development manager.
Let's see. What is she? She research and strategy director for Home DNB.
There you go.
Which is great. So, what is it that you do for Home DNB?
I do mostly a little bit of everything. There's a team, web team, contractors, salespeople, and I'm the one who kind of just ties everything together.
Oh, great. So you're the one that if I had a project, see, I'm a homeowner, and I can tell you that the biggest mystery for any homeowner is, all right, you want to make a new kitchen. You want to make a new bathroom. You want to redesign your house. You want to make it for an Airbnb, or you want to do something like that. You have no earthly idea how to get started. And that's why we would come to your company. Is that right?
Correct. Me, with my personal experience, I've done all the construction and everything. I've also went to business school, so I learned the other end as well. So I know how to talk to people on both ends. I know what the homeowner needs. I know what's realistic for the contractors, and I also help the company with, social media. I'm like, okay, this is what homeowners need. This is what homeowners want, and this is what we offer. And I guide basically everybody. I don't get really down to the client details or anything, but I help make sure that everybody is in the right direction. Does that make sense?
It does, because I can't tell you the number of times I've heard of people that hire a contractor and they put all this money down, and the next time they see the contractor is either never or a long way away, and they don't do what they are supposed to have done, and there's no one there to enforce what they promise they do, and a lot of times it's just money down the drain. Has that been your experience? Is that where you guys fit in?
That happens a lot. And also another problem is people don't consult designers. They show up and they're like, this is what I want. and the construction guy's like, okay, well, and they kind of put it together on the spot. And it's not that, construction designers are inexperienced. They are, but they tend to not be quite as experienced with, they basically just do what the homeowner says. And without unless there's a serious problem, but without a designer, you get a designer in, and the designer will be like, okay, here you go. Your budget is $20,000. I cost, say, the designer costs $5,000, we'll just say. What the designer will do is they'll help you put together a way you can usually save that $5,000 through more qualified constructions for conveying the needs. Because one thing I used to see constantly in construction is we get halfway between like, oh, I don't like that. Can we do it this? And or I want this material, but that material isn't around anymore. And a designer can get all this stuff in place so there's not these last minute holdups. And then there's a holdup, and the construction company would be like, oh, well, it's going to take a week to get the material. They start a new project, and then the material's in like, oh yeah, but we're tied up on this other project because that had a problem. And then you don't see them for 3 weeks, and next thing you know, what you thought would be 2 months, you're 6 weeks in. Why? Because the tile didn't look the way you thought it would look when you actually set your eyes on it. All over something small. And designers can stop that. They can also anticipate problems that you may not think of. And like a construction worker will just be like, okay, this is what you want, that's what we're going to do. And they know basic laws and things like that to follow, but they don't often put things into mind like saving money, how to reduce energy costs. Is the sun going to be in the way? And should we really put a window here? I mean, your bedroom's right there, and your kid's crawling around now, but in 2 years when he's walking around, are you sure you want that covered there? Things like that.
And which is an amazing thing that you guys do, because I tell you, most of us have got, like regular jobs, and we do other stuff. We didn't grow up in construction. We can't look down the way. And especially when, dare I say it, you get the ladies involved who want a certain look, and they want it to look a certain way and be a certain way that may or may not be even practical. But they want it because, I don't know, they want it. So you're there then to say, well, consider this rather than this, because this won't work, but this might work better for you.
Well, yes and no. That's what the designer does. What we do is we put the homeowner in contact with designers, construction companies, things like that, who we know, who we've talked to before, who we've done business with before. We've talked to their customers, because like you said, people work jobs. They open up. Well, we don't do that anymore. Now you go on Google. We don't open up the phone book anymore. You go on Google. You pick the number one result. You call them up and you say, hey, let's do this. And do you know if they're going to? How many people actually have the time to go on Yelp? And are the Yelp results real?
See, I wanted to ask you about that specifically, because I get online for different services, and of course there'll be 5-star ratings, and there may be one, or there may be maybe 3 ratings for this particular company. How do I know that they didn't write them themselves?
You don't. And see, that's the problem. And that's another thing where I come in. I understand both sides of the story. I know businesses go on Upwork or Fiverr and say, hey, give me a Yelp review. And they get 30 Yelp reviews of people who, live in Canada, New York, China, Mexico, got paid $5 to do a Yelp review for somebody of a place they've never even seen,
Yeah. So you don't necessarily know what you're getting. So it's important to have somebody vet the people that you're working with, so that you have a confidence level that they are who they are and can do what they say they can do.
Exactly. And if you have special needs, like we talked about earlier with kids, we know designers who are, specialists in how to design child-safe homes. Or if you want to do something environmentally friendly. When I was in construction, I actually helped build the first fully sustainable home in, I think, all of California.
Oh, wow.
And we were in like Architectural Digest and all these little things that don't matter. We planted trees and actually donated trees to the city on the public land to provide shade to affect the energy bill.
Really? Now that's thinking ahead of the curve.
This is stuff people don't think of, though. The windows are in a certain area, and then there's another curtain right outside that drops naturally at a certain time. And all these things go into energy efficiency. There's so many things that I would have never thought of if I never worked on this. And I know, and then we had a designer. If we as a construction company tried to do that ourselves, it wouldn't have been half as good as it was.
Oh, wow. Well, let me ask you too, because where are you located? Are you in Canada or are you in the US?
I'm in Southern California.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Isn't the weather nice down there today?
That's not bad. It's always nice in California.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, but I wanted to ask you because our population in the United States, as you are probably well aware, is getting older. And a lot of people will be fully employed, have a good paycheck coming in, and they decide they want to redesign their house or they want to change it, but they don't necessarily. Well, you tell me, do they think about their retirement years? Do they think about the hip replacements and the knee replacements and everything, and build the bathrooms that the doors are wider and that kind of stuff? Do people think about that?
That happens as well, but I've noticed 2 times when people remodel is when they buy a house and then they make it their own. And a good number of people remodel their houses when the kids leave. So they're not quite retirement age, but they're 40, 50, and no, they generally don't plan for 15 years down the road. At that time, a lot of people just kind of build stuff as it happens, and this becomes a problem because like you said, you have a bathroom, and I need to sit in the showers now, and I need a bar now, so you install the bar, and you install the chair, and then you need another chair for outside, and the original bathroom wasn't installed with that in mind.
Right. Right.
So these little things take up room, and next thing you know, you're squeezing in this little area. You open the drawers, and it's hitting the chair.
Well, and that's exactly right. I have a relative that now they're in a house that they've remodeled, and they remodeled it some time ago, but she's had hip replacements and she's in the middle of a knee replacement, and the walkers are not designed to go through the doors of their house. So it's very difficult for her to get around because of the design of the original house. It would have been much better for her had somebody said, have you thought about what happens when you're 69 or 70 and things just don't work as well as they used to? How can we build the house to make it better for you so you can stay in your house longer?
Yeah, I actually did the same thing with my grandmother. I didn't. That wasn't me, but my family helped out with this. She did a remodel, and then same thing, had a hip problem, and she put a closet in for the bathroom towels, things like that, right outside the bathroom door. Oh, and no. As she got older, there was a little divot, and she had to walk in to get to the restroom, and we had to then move the closet over 5 feet, and that was all open space the whole time. This could have been done 10 years earlier when she remodeled the rest of the house.
So you work with the designers to help people think of these things and then put the entire contracting team together to make sure everybody's doing their part. And I'll give you an example. On the same relative, they were remodeling as part of that remodel, they were remodeling their kitchen. And what you said was exactly right. The material that they were going to use for the cabinets was not the material that they wanted or thought they wanted. And so when the contractor went back to get that material, it wasn't available for a month. And so that stopped the entire project and made a month project into a 3-month disaster project. That happens all the time, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Or you see a picture of the cabinets, they order them, they show up, and it's a lot glossier than I thought it would be. Let's get the other ones. And see, because the issue is when you're dealing with there is a level of there's a trust issue here. When you're dealing with construction workers, the homeowner, and it's not without reason. There's a lot of unscrupulous construction companies. We all know this. Always trying to cut corners. Don't want to do this. Don't want to do that for their bottom line. And so when you're talking to a construction foreman who says, "Oh, well, you don't want to do that for this reason," not all, but many homeowners, if they're not aware of what's going on, are suspicious. If you have a third-party designer there whose bottom line has nothing to do with this, they can be an advocate for what's in the best interest of everybody.
That makes
That
sense.
mean,
Yeah,
and
that makes perfect sense.
they can talk to the homeowner and say, look, he's not pulling your leg here. He's serious. You're not gonna like this when they show up, or vice versa. Go to the construction work and go, come on, this is going to cost $100. Just do it.
Now let me ask you: is it true that as a project is delayed, delays cost a lot of money? And it continues to mount up when you have delays like that, doesn't it?
Well, they can, but to me, the bigger issue is because you hold off one thing, then you got to hold off everybody. Once if it takes an extra 2 weeks for the electricians to come in and do the wiring because the lighting fixtures weren't done, then you got to hold off the drywall people. And you got to hold off the flooring people because they can't cover those walls until the electrical's done. And you can't put in the borders, channels and stripping or anything in flooring until the walls are done. So then this causes a domino effect as there's 3 or 4 different contractors. Contractors get frustrated, the homeowner gets frustrated, and if you want to rush things up, other people will charge a premium to try and catch up because then you got to rush materials to speed up the project along, and that costs more money. Anytime you try and order something faster, it's going to cost you a lot more money. But the biggest problem is the inconvenience.
Yeah.
Do you really, really want concrete and nails and open walls and dust in your home for 2 months, or do you want it done in 10 days?
That's a terrible thing.
I would pay an extra $5,000 to have something done a month early.
Well, exactly. So I now I got to ask you, just since you're a designer and all that, how do you, if you've got a one bathroom house, how do you remodel the bathroom? How long does that take? So where if you're remodeling your bathroom, where do you go? If you know what I mean.
We actually have a post about that on our blog. So if you go check out the blog at homednb.com, over to the blog, we talk about what to do in these situations, and we talk about the importance of planning. That's why we give a PDF to anybody who signs up on how to properly plan for a renovation. And there's lots of ways to do it. One of the reasons construction picks up in the summer is you can redo a bathroom in as little as 1 day.
Oh, really?
If you plan it properly, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
I've seen it done. I've done it myself. Of course, like I said, it costs a bit more, but you make sure you know exactly what you want. You have all the materials on hand. You get a crew in there, early 6 a.m. or so, and they could work until about 8 o'clock at night, and you could be good to go. I mean, on a regular bathroom, as long as you don't have, natural rain showers and stones, nothing elaborate, it can be done. And, so what people do is they just leave for the day. Go, and especially like what I tell people, the bigger problem is kitchens.
Oh yeah.
Because then where are you going to cook? So you have to plan things out, have everything ready to go, so you can get your kitchen done in 3-4 days, maybe a week, because you're ordering out. And during the summer, you can go to Disneyland or whatever. Not everybody has that luxury, but you can go out and enjoy the town for the day. But if you're doing something like a kitchen, that takes a little more time, but during the summer, at least you can fire up the barbecue.
Yep. There's a couple of constants in life. One is, if you're going to have your car fixed, it's going to cost $500. It doesn't matter what it is; it's going to be at least $500. And if you are going to have your house done, or if you're going to go order from Uber for dinner for 2, it's going to cost $60. I don't care where it is, what you're going to have. So $60 for a week. It gets to be pricey after a little while.
Yeah, so, and you have to plan for these things as well. You have to know, and this is again something a designer will help you with. Like, you got to remember, what are you going to eat for a week? We can put the refrigerator in your living room, sure, but there's only so many cold cuts you can manage.
Exactly right. And Jimmy John's just gets old after a little while.
Exactly.
All right. So I'm a homeowner. I'm sold. I want to buy your services. How do I begin?
Well, all we do is, you get in contact with us and you tell us what your needs are, when you need it done. And, depending on where you live, we usually have some people in place for that, or we can find them. We're still a new company. There's still some areas where, our relationship with contractors is fairly new, or even have not, used them before at all, but we do still vet them. So you tell us what your timetable is, what the project is, and what your special needs are. Like I said, if you want it to be, kid friendly, environmentally friendly, elderly people, and we get the people in contact with you. And once the ball gets going, the system kind of works for itself. If you have any then you have a designer on there for you. If you choose not to use a designer, that's fine as well. But most problems are dealt with at, right there at that level. Very rarely do we have to get involved and make any sort of change or anything like that. But if there are issues, then of course we do. We're still the referral company. We're kind of like an Emily's List type of, or not Emily's List. What is that one? I can't remember. But we're more of a referral service, but we're there every step of the way if you need us or any clarification, or if it's just not working out with the contractor. Sometimes it happens. Personalities clash. We can absolutely, get you situated with somebody new.
So if you have a problem with a contract, that's going to be my next question, was if you have a problem with a contractor, is it you that we call and then you straighten out the problem with the contractor?
If there's a designer involved, the first step would be to get a hold of the designer, because the contractors would usually be there set up through the designer.
Gotcha.
If you have a problem with the designer, absolutely get a hold of us. Or if we're dealing with a contractor directly, because like I said, not everybody wants to use a designer, and that's fine. And you're having some problems, absolutely, you get a hold of us. We see what we can do. And again, we are a third-party agency. We want your job to be finished. You want your job to be finished. And we would much rather find somebody else for you that fits better than lose all the work that we did as well. But we have nothing directly to lose or gain, whether the relationship with the contractor, designer, and the homeowner continues or not. Does that make sense?
Yep. So, I was just thinking how when I was a wee lad, I used to sell ladies' shoes for Nordstrom. And sometimes people can have something in their mind that just isn't possible. As an example, they want to buy a size 6, but their foot is a size 8, but they believe that their foot is a size 6, and so they want to get into a size 6, but you can know that that's not going to work. I can only imagine what it's like to be a designer and to be in your guys' shoes when you're dealing with people that are amateurs, who don't have a clue what they want. They think they know what they want, but they don't know whether it's practical or applicable to their situation. And you guys have to deal with all that stuff. I applaud you. This has got to be tough sometimes.
Well, it's easy for me if I have to deal with somebody like that. Like I said, how much the company makes or I make has absolutely nothing to do with what the client's needs are.
Gotcha.
We get paid the same regardless, or we don't get paid at all. It's a yes or no. It's not, if there's 10 problems, we get half the amount. It doesn't matter. So I have no reason to lie to a customer, or just to get them to finish it or whatever. So if I tell them and say, well, this is why that will not work, then I have no reason to lie.
Right.
It's not going to cost me any money.
So in the course of a homeowner working with you, I assume that your fee is a negotiation between you and the homeowner. Is that right? Or do you have a standard fee?
No, it's a commission with the contractors and designers. The homeowner doesn't pay it at all. They, you know,
Oh,
they don't
that's good to know right there.
they don't raise the prices at all. It's a volume thing. You know, we get, 10, 15 deal, whatever for new clients for these contractors, and they're happy. They get a lot of extra work. They don't have to pass it on to the homeowner.
So I'm beginning. This is beginning to gel for me. So basically, a contractor would be wise to talk to you and have you vet them so that you go on their list, so that as people come along then and seek your services, you then refer them to those guys that you've already vetted, and it's all put together, and the contractor pays you and the homeowner doesn't. Homeowner pays the contractor, contractor
Correct.
pays you.
And that's generally how it works anyway in the construction business.
I had no earthly
Yeah.
idea.
Well, there's generally, like the general contractors, and they say, "Oh yeah, work with my guys here," and those guys get, the people they do regular business with, give them discounted rates. So it's no different. Discounted rate, taking a discounted rate from me or from a general contractor. The only difference is we just get a little piece. Instead of a discounted rate, it's the same rate. And instead of a general contractor or whatever taking a chunk of that, then we do that for them.
You guys should have seminars and classes on how to go about this stuff, because for most people, for my relative that did the remodel, it became a cluster because not everybody was on the same page, and then the pieces, then you were exactly right, the cabinets didn't arrive, or they arrived wrong and had to go back, and the flooring wasn't right, and it wasn't what they said they were going to do, and stuff like that. So it dragged itself out into a long, dirty, messy project.
And also, people don't plan all the time. People think, oh, I want to redo the house. I'm going to do the bathroom. I'm going to do the kitchen. And I'm going to do the laundry room. And they don't tell anybody this. They bring them in and say, oh, yeah, just do my kitchen for me. And then when the kitchen's done, they call somebody and they say, oh, do my bathroom. Or, oh, do the laundry room. And what helps is when you say, okay, wait, why don't you do, the kitchen is here. The laundry room is behind the kitchen. The bathroom is to the left of the kitchen. Let's do this all at once. You open up all the walls. Because you do the bathroom, and then you got to cut out the plumbing, replace a bunch of plumbing. Then you do the kitchen, and you're like, oh, we got to redesign the plumbing again because it doesn't fit with what we're doing in the kitchen. You do it all at once, one set of plumbing, the housework, because this is how houses break down. People will remodel one little thing here, then it's something else a little bit later, and something else a little bit later, something else a little bit later, instead of doing it all at once, and you end up with these duct tape solutions because the plumbing doesn't fit, and you gotta cut into the plumbing. Every time you cut into anything, plumbing, electrical, whatever, you're increasing the chances of there being a problem later. Do it all at once. It's going to save you a lot of money, and it's going to save you a lot in repairs down the road because it's a lot more efficient system. Just because you're not looking at the wire, you're a lot less likely to have leaks when you've got 20 pipes and connections as opposed to 40 because you had to redo things 3 times.
Exactly. Now, I wanted to ask you too, because I'm sure that the housing market's going crazy, and it has been going crazy for a little while. I was just looking at there's a town called Burien, which is right next to Seattle up here, which is where I am. And the real estate company was saying that last month they got 107% of the asking price, which means that people came in and paid more. Is it important these days, with housing values going the way they are, to remodel, keep your house up? Can you get I guess I'm asking, can you get the money back out of a remodel that you put into a remodel?
If you do it smartly, there's a lot of remodels where you're not going to get your money back out of it. It's just you're not, and you need to understand. Usually you can get your money out of it, but you're not always going to get your money out of all things. There's some projects you're just not going to get recoup it. There's when you do things internally, plumbing, wiring upgrades, things like that, you will always get returns on that. Because the newer infrastructure in the house will pay for itself. Your energy costs go down. If you design things properly, your energy costs go down, which increases the value of the home, because you're like, hey, we did this remodel, it saves us $150 a month. That makes a house worth $5,000-$10,000 more right there.
Exactly. Then there are a lot of homes. Now you're in Southern California. Is solar panels and putting solar panels on roofs, is that becoming a big thing down there?
Absolutely, we have them all over the place here.
Well, you got sun. We
Yeah.
have 300 days of clouds. So I don't even know whether how well they would work up here, but that adds value to your house as well, because you can actually sell that money or that power back to the power company.
That is possible. It doesn't tend to happen as often as people think, but again,
really?
when your electric bill is $12 instead of $120, that still makes a difference.
That's a big deal right there. And so the solar thing down there is much bigger than it would be in some parts of the country, I suppose. But it's how much ballpark it for me to put solar panels on your house. How much does it cost?
Oh, I wouldn't even know. I couldn't give an accurate number. It depends on how big the house is, what the energy consumption is. Older houses are going to need more panels. There's 2 or 3 levels of efficiency. I know the basics of solar panels, but I don't know the details.
Now, is it worth it? I suppose it would be. And I don't know if you've done a study. Is it worth it to insulate your house and to make it more energy efficient? Because over time you'll get that money back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that goes along the lines with what I was saying with with doing everything at once. If you're going to open up an area, you can insulate everything a lot better. Insulation is one of the top things people can do, and depending on where you're at, especially something that's forgotten is people insulating their attics. People forget about that. People are like, oh yeah, we got all the walls insulated. I'm like, yeah, but your attic is open. Which direction does heat go? It doesn't go out. It doesn't go out the side walls.
No, it goes straight up, and because heat rises and stuff. So there are people that don't have the insulation in their attics, really. It would seem to me to be a real easy fix.
Well, it's an afterthought, because a lot of people don't. When people use their attics and for things, it's not so much of an afterthought, but a lot of people don't think of it because it's out of sight, out of mind.
Right. So when you're working with somebody and you were talking earlier about making it friendly for kids, is there a way to as the kid grows up from being an infant to being a toddler and what how do you make the house safer for the kids?
Well, for example, if you have a laundry room, you install the shelves and drawers up higher. People often they put cabinets and kind of do a similar design as a kitchen in their laundry rooms, and they put their soap and everything in there, and that's all real easy to grab. And sure, I know there's the child locks and everything, but I mean, I'm a parent, and if I told you that we put our child locks back on every single time, the second we open the drawer, every time, especially when cooking and opening at 5 or 10, it doesn't happen. And also, as a parent, as we know, it only takes about 0.03 seconds for a kid to get into something dangerous.
Yes, they do. Yes, they are ingenious that way.
So, you can design the way you can design houses, especially like kitchens and things like that, is you can keep the drawers and cabinets away from the lower areas, making sure you can easily put in gates at the stairs automatically, better stair rails, which have, the supports are closer together so a kid won't fit through. That's something I actually had to deal with when our youngest was born. We were living in a house, and each of them were about a foot and a half apart. They're like, "Oh, this isn't going to work. This kid starts crawling around; he's going to fall right through." So we had to. So the homeowner, because I was a renter, he just put this in right before we moved in, and 6 months later, we're getting ready to have a kid, and we're telling him, "Hey, you got to take all this out and put in another one," because we tried to order, just double the post, and of course, like we talked about before, they weren't available anymore, so we had to get rid of all of them and
Start all over again
and put in all new ones. Yeah.
And is that what code would be? Is that why the landlord would have to make those repairs because code would dictate it?
No, there's no code. It's just what we wanted done. We ended up paying for half of it as well, with the guy just saying, "Hey, we want this done because it's just a better thing to do." And so, we worked with him and put in half and got it done. But he paid for all this, not even a year before.
Oh, I bet he was happy.
Well, he didn't care because it made a selling point for him. It didn't really cost him much, But this is something, if I was a homeowner, I'd be pretty upset if, I put in a staircase and had a kid a year later and realized that the staircase is unsafe. Just put it in the right way the first time. If you're a young homeowner, you're 23 years old, even if you're not planning on having kids, it doesn't cost you much more to do it child safe anyway.
And you really should, because if you don't have kids, you're gonna have friends who have kids. And
Yeah.
if they come over to your house and fall through the railing, that's probably not a real good idea.
Or if you decide to sell the house in 2 or 3 years, that becomes a selling point. All these things should be thought of ahead of time regardless, because these are what increases the value. And even if it doesn't, it increases demand. How do you get a house that sells for 110% above market? Well, you have one that 5 people want, but there's only one house. How do you do that? You have a selling point by saying, "Hey, this house is child safe. It's environmentally friendly. It's going to save you this much money, this much money, this much money." That's what gets you 3 or 4 bidders as opposed to just 1 or 0.
I gotta ask you, my son and I were talking about this yesterday, because in our market now, a typical the mid-range of a house is $500,000. And so how do new kids that are, when I say kids, and in their early 20s or late 20s, how do they save up enough money and pay rent where they're at to get a down payment to put all this money in and then afford the monthly payment? And when is this going to stop, do you think?
I wish I had an answer for that. If I did, you'd be calling me President Eric.
Because it's my son is 32. He makes good money. He's single. But nowadays, I come from a time when my dad worked, my mom stayed home. Those days are not possible anymore. And to be a homeowner and to have a $3,000 mortgage.
Yeah, I'm not an economist. I've put a lot of thought into that. Believe me, I don't have any answers. I mean, I could say, "Oh yeah, get a second, third, and fourth job. Work 70 hours a week when you're 45, like Eric does, and just getting ready to buy a house now." But
Yeah.
that's not really an answer anybody wants to hear.
Well, and there is something called quality of life, rather than working 2 or 3 jobs and working 70 hours a week. But so, you got to do what you got to do, I suppose, but it makes it tough. So how did you get into this business, by the way?
I just everything aligned perfectly for me. Like I said, I did construction for several years. I went to school doing marketing, And when I decided to settle down and have a family, I was tired of waking up at 4 in the morning, being gone by 5 in the morning, getting home at 5 p.m. and being so exhausted I'm in bed by 6.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
that's construction, especially when you're in your 30s. You don't have it like I was when I was 19. And so I've always done writing on the side. So I started, doing little freelance jobs, writing here and there on Family Handyman, a few other websites, stuff like that. And decided, I'm like, hey, I'm pretty good at selling stuff and everything. Went back to school, got a degree in business marketing, and from my writing contract, I started doing, marketing writing. Then it went into, somebody asked me one day, hey, Eric, do you know how to do social media marketing? I'm like, no, but I'll learn it. And, hey, Eric, do you know how to do email marketing? No, but I'll learn it. Hey, Eric, do you know how to make videos? No, but I'll learn it. And here I am. Now I basically know how to do all aspects of business. And I have my, on the ground history. So it just happened to be a perfect fit.
Have you thought about doing a home improvement podcast?
No.
I don't blame you. It's hard to make a dime on a podcast these days.
No, I know how to do a lot of basic things. I understand construction principle, but I don't have a contractor's license. I did it for about 7 years because during most of my 20s, I worked in restaurants and stuff. So I don't have the experience to do it for, I would have to research things. I'm somebody who has, I have this weird thing called integrity.
Oh, no.
Where if I can't do it right, and I can't do something quality, and I can't do something that I would be proud of, like I have a rule that I set a few years ago. Speaking of kids, I said, I'm never going to take any job that I would be ashamed if my kids found out I did it. And if I'm doing a podcast on home improvement, and I would have to tell people I don't know half the time. And so my choices are lie to people or say I don't know and never have a good podcast.
Nobody knows everything. It's hard to know everything, unless your first initial starts with a G. You just don't. But I think that would be, it's needed certainly, and I think that you would do a good job with it. So maybe we should do more of this, and we can pick different topics of home improvement stuff or the things that you write about. What is it that you write about? I'm curious.
Well, we have the now I don't really do much writing anymore. I do the blog for the company, and we have 7 tips for remodeling in the summer, how to design for small spaces, kitchen remodeling tips, things like that. It's real basic. And the good thing about writing on stuff is if I don't know the answer, I can look it up. If we're live on here, then I can't really quite go look it up.
That's true. That's true.
It's like I've told you 2 or 3 times right now. Like I don't know.
Well, but that's the thing. You can't know everything, and I don't expect you to pull stuff out of your ear that because you're right. You don't want to say stuff that's not right, and you do want to have integrity about what you do. By the way, if you want to go to Eric's website, and the company's name is Home DNB Inc. and the
.com.
And the .com is HomeDnB.com. And you can go there, and you've got a blog, and you've got a bunch of stuff that you've written there, and it would be great if you're looking to remodel or doing something kind of interesting with your house. But typically, I don't know. I'm too damn cheap because it costs a lot of money to remodel stuff.
Yeah, it does. But again, if you do it right, then it can easily pay for itself. If you can do a remodel effectively, you can save, even without even going, super crazy, doing everything you can do. You could save $200-300 a month in water and energy bills. I mean, it's with just a moderate remodel that's not going all out. And if you can do that effectively, if it costs you, $20,000, knowing you're saving $200 or $300 a month, that still pays for itself in 20 years. I know that's not what you want to hear, but if that's going to save you a few $100s a month. And if you decide to sell your house in 2 or 3 years from now, not only did you save that, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, which, $1,200 a year, $3,000, $4,000 a year is that's a vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can sell the house for 2 or 3 years later and get your $20,000 or $30,000 investment back, plus all the money you saved in the meantime. So it's a matter of perspective. I mean, if you have the money laying around, it's almost always a good idea to invest in your home. Whether if you have to get a loan, then we need to take that into consideration. And that's something a designer is also going to say, because if you want to be environmentally friendly, just to be environmentally friendly, and a loan's going to cost you $150 a month, but and interest and things like that, but the energy savings is going to save you $150. You're going to basically get an interest-free loan for your remodel, and you're going to help save the world. So it just depends on what your priorities are,
Yeah. Yeah. Saving the world is probably not a bad idea at this point in time, because we do need to. And I did a podcast about this a couple of days ago. Have you been paying attention to what President Biden wants to do with the jobs program and to do the infrastructure of the country and to really work on the infrastructure? Are you familiar with that at all?
I am a little bit, but another thing I'm familiar with is you're in Seattle, you said, right?
Yes.
And I know you guys just passed a clean fuel standard.
We did?
Yes.
The
legislature just passed that a week or two ago.
Oh, okay.
And what this is going to do is California and Oregon have passed it. Vancouver's passed it. Basically, Washington was the last little holdout. But what it does, it encourages production into cleaner fuels. So
that's a good idea.
This is mostly, it affects cars at the moment and reformulating gas and things like that. But what this is going to do is it's going to also fuel a conversion into biofuels and other forms of cleaner energy in general. And so how homes get their energy is going to be affected. And so if you're doing a remodel right now anywhere in Washington now, this is another thing you want to keep in mind. The energy is going to probably be going down. It's going to be diversified. If you have heating oil homes, that's going to probably start getting a lot more expensive as other fuels get cheaper. There's less use. All these things come into a factor. And for example, like 5 years from now, energy costs in Washington are going to be very different because of this law. Oh. And so you're going to have to convert, do you have natural gas? Do you have heating oil? I know there's a lot of areas in Washington, in the Puget Sound area where the logging country, they rely on heating oil, and these costs are going to go up, and it's going to, if when you're renovating, you might want to start thinking about renovating right now in that area, because 2-3 years from now, a more energy efficient home is going to be in a lot more demand. It's going to definitely be an investment in that, Puget Sound logging area in Washington.
So is natural gas, will that be affected as much, or is that going to be a better investment than heating oil?
Natural gas will probably become, I'm just guessing here. I'm not an expert in fuels, but I've read about it. I try and stay on top of it, but there's going to be more investment into biofuels, which is, anaerobic digestion, the processing dairy, methane emissions into fuels, the forest waste, it can be, converted into gas. And so natural gas, I would imagine, I'm just projecting here, would we be going down in value, and oil costs are going to be going up.
Well, that's good news for me because I got $4 natural gas. That makes that.
And with my disclaimer, I am not an expert there, but it is something I know a little bit more about, and that's just my guess.
Well, you said more than I know, and that's all that matters here. So, if somebody wants to go research that, they can go to the internet and the interweb, and they can go to Google that and figure that.
Yeah, it's the Washington Low Carbon Clean Fuel Standard.
So so you do know a lot. You could do all kinds of stuff. So you're very, very good. By the way, we've been talking with Eric Ridenour. He is a home design. I would call your company well, I shouldn't call him anything. What do you call your company? If you were to look on the internet, what would you look under?
We are a design and build referral service.
There, I wish I'd have said that. That's really good. A build and design referral service, and you use them, and it costs you nothing. So, and they can help you find the right contractors. They can help you make sure that the work gets done appropriately and as efficiently as possible, because time is money. And if you have to wait for parts or different aspects of it, and it holds everybody else up, and then they get busy, and then especially now in the time of COVID, now that that's kind of relaxing a little bit, people are going to get really busy, I would imagine, because there's a lot of pent-up demand.
And that's another thing that people are looking at too. Even though COVID's kind of going away, people are looking into, renovating their homes so that there's a lot less dust, and putting in air scrubbers in their homes, and they're like, well, if we're going to switch out our HVAC system, we might as well,
Right.
And because sure, this virus is gone, but I mean, it's not like it's going to be the last virus to come into existence. And you upgrade your HVAC system, and you're going to be healthier year round.
Exactly.
And so there's a renovation there. I mean, you want to talk about saving money? What's better? A 3-day stay in a hospital, that'll pay for your entire home.
And that is so true. And the other thing that's coming about is my son pointed this out. Since he's been wearing a mask at work, he traditionally every year, every change of season, he would catch a cold. Well, he wore a mask this year and he didn't catch a cold. So it's like, maybe even if COVID goes away, I'll continue to wear a mask, or get a air scrubber for your house so you can keep the air cleaner and keep the viruses out of it and stuff like that. That would be a really good investment. It might save your life.
It actually is. I've looked into getting it for myself, and it is a really good investment. When they first came out, I'm like, oh, here comes the sharks, trying to sell, UV lighting as a cure, but I started doing some research. I'm like, oh, then the studies came out. They actually tested it on coronavirus, and it's still 99.9% effective. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to get one, so.
Well, and if you've got a family and you want to make sure everybody's safe, and you want to have people over, and you want to make sure that they're safe, it's a really good investment. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if down the road people come on over to my house. I've got a system that'll keep the air clean, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
As a selling point for coming over to your house.
They're putting them in schools and restaurants and gyms. I mean, it's working for them, and they're reopening the schools, and I could be wrong here, but I haven't seen any mass outbreaks in schools that I'm aware of. And I would imagine that these scrubbers are playing a big role in that, and you can get them for your house for a couple $1,000s.
That's not bad at all. How long does it take to install?
I believe you can put it in just a few hours. You just got to, cut a little hole in the ducting, slap it in, and, it's there and done. But what a lot of people do is they're doing parts of like I said, larger renovations and upgrades. When you open up your walls and things like that already, it's like, okay, well, now we got the walls open, we might as well replace the ducts. And, because what other time, what better time to do it than when you got everything all open, and upgrade your HVAC system as a whole, because people are upgrading their windows as well. And, that's why I said these little projects turn into big projects real fast.
They do. They do.
So it's good. It's good to get this whole plan worked out in advance.
I agree 100%. So if somebody wanted to email you, should they? What email should they use?
They can email me directly with any questions or anything at eric@homednb.com. You can also email if you're interested in our services or even just want more information. You can also email sales@homednb.com. But the best thing to probably do if you're just looking for some general information, you can just go to the website. You can, subscribe to our newsletter. And this is beneficial because we will send you a free PDF on all the steps on how to prepare for doing a renovation before you need to call anybody. It's free, no strings attached. Of course, you end up on an email list, but we don't spam people every day. When we have a blog come out, you can get an alert, which gives you more information. And that's a good thing to do. And, of course, you can unsubscribe anytime you like if you're not happy with what you're getting. But even if you're not thinking of doing a renovation right now and you're thinking maybe in a year in the future, it's a good idea to get our newsletter because, we're sending you information. We might get, again, ideas that you never thought you needed.
Information and knowledge is power. And
absolutely.
If you can figure that out, you can probably save yourself a boatload of money too. And not make the mistakes that a lot of homeowners make because everybody wants to be cheap. Sometimes being cheap is not as good as paying a little bit more and getting the thing done right.
Yeah, there's a difference between being cheap and getting value.
Oh, well said, sir. That's really good. Eric Ridenour has been our guest, and I want to thank you again. Eric, is there anything you'd like to add to talk to our audience, or just anything you'd like at all?
No, but I will say, that was a nice little closing about the value in being cheap. And there's a saying that I like going by, reminds people, especially in construction, that we used to say, if you think I'm expensive, wait till you see how much the cheaper guy's going to end up costing you.
And ladies and gentlemen, I think that's more true than you would know, because I think you're exactly right. The cheap guy can cost you a ton of money, and especially if you give them a bunch of money and you haven't vetted them, and it's just because they were in the phone book or something, and then suddenly they disappear on you. That can get really expensive.
Absolutely.
So
having to eat out when you have no wiring and gas in your kitchen is not fun.
And then having to call somebody else to get the job done, and they're like, well, I can take care of you in August, and it's May, and it's because we're busy, and so that can get really expensive. So
and then are you really sure you want to deal with the one guy who is available?
Yeah. I guess one of your first questions would be, so why are you available? Because if everybody else is busy and he's not, there's a reason.
Exactly.
There's a good reason. So Eric, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Kevin. It definitely was a pleasure as well. Talk to you later.
Yes, sir. And hold on right there. I got to do this and I'll be right back. Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we've got. See you next time on My Independence Report.